All right. Look, this will be our last presentation before the 21st of December, and I might as well start by talking about that first, and we'll add other things to it as we go along. We have said on every other occasion with this ceremony that's taking place at Uluru that we've always added a disclaimer or an equivocation. On many occasions we said we're not even sure if the ceremony is going to take place. And even to this day, when we get there, we don't know what we're doing. We may even be spectators, we may not even be spectators, and we may be involved. We don't know, and to be honest, it doesn't matter. It's immaterial, although I suspect our rocks are needed. But either way, that's not the point of the exercise. Well, I'm now prepared to say, and so is Evan, that we honestly believe this ceremony will happen. It will take place. And we do know that, well, it's millions of people have been in contact with us and they're going to join in. And there's room for many, many more. In fact, there's room for the whole planet, to be honest. So by all means, don't stop by thinking, oh, it's full up. It's never full up. Particularly, I'd like to thank the people in Iceland, in the Scandinavian countries, and in England who are participating in this, because it's their winter solstice. And the timing is not 9:02 p.m. in the evening, it's in the middle of the night. So it's going to be freezing cold, and it's going to be dark, and they're going to have to stay up. And I really, really appreciate what those people are doing. And let me explain to you once again, this is a global ceremony. If you're on the earth, anywhere on this planet, you're part of it. And what comes out of it? Well, there's two options. One is nothing, and the other is everything. But I want to make the point again, if it turns out to be nothing, it's never nothing, because if millions upon millions of people are actually meditating, creating positive energy, how can that hurt right now? It can't hurt the planet, and it can't hurt the individual. So I'm asking people, even at this late stage, and it's not that late to be honest really, that seriously, if you can make the effort, if you can find the time and you can clean your soul up and clean up yourself, come and join us, because we need it. The planet needs it. And there is no other option, honestly. I mean, every year we lose percentages, 2, 3 or 4% of the insects on this planet. Every year everything's falling apart. And I've got people arguing about whether global warming is real and whether the carbon that goes in the air is a good or bad thing. You know what? Even if you fix that up, that wouldn't change a thing. As things stand, within about 40 years, all the insects on this planet will be dead anyway. So what does it matter? We're gone anyway. And remember, this is not just about saving humanity. It's about saving all the animals, all the insects, and everything else on this planet too. So I'm asking you, please, if you can find the time and you do have the inclination, join a group. And if you can't find a group, go onto our website. There are people, you just put your name down and someone will say, come and join us. It's that simple. And what I like about that is we didn't arrange that. We didn't suggest it, and we didn't prompt that. That's totally unprompted by people all over the world who said, I want to do something to help. That's the way things should be. It shouldn't be a matter of one person saying, do this. It should be everyone saying, let's do this, and that's what's taking place. So that's a really important part of this. And in that vein, if I can also add that the conference we're putting on next Sunday coming up, we're going to be talking about, obviously, this one more time there. And also, this time round, we have Arnie Mini Mace, Lionel Launch, Uncle Lewis Walker, and more than likely I would think there's been a major issue, something that's held up Ulikai, original stuff that he cannot get away from at the moment, things that have taken place, and it's more than likely he will not be joining us this time, but will next time. That's just part of the deal with original people. They have many different issues to deal with at one particular time. It can be deaths and the funeral, it can be marriage, it can be family issues, it can be all sorts of things that take precedence. And I'm not saying it's any of those things, because it's not. But for now, Ulikai is taking a rain check on this one, and we'll catch him up on another date. And to be honest, I was a bit worried we're overloading things because we've also got been a panel talking as well. And the last time we went this long, the last session cut out with the Harrys after 5 or 6 minutes. And that was a major concern, and we started to wonder about that a fair bit too. So there were a few things that made us just cut it back a fraction. And what you're going to listen to is original people of the highest order in this country giving their story. And even if this wasn't about the ceremony that's taking place, that would be worthwhile in itself. So come and join us for that, because that is also part of the 21st of December, and it's part of original culture, and it's the beginning of old ways. And the best way to find out what the beginning of old ways is to hear it from the people that are part of that, the original people that understand that so well. So yes, by all means, and people overseas, if you want drums, if you want to have sage, if you want to do anything, whatever you want to do to make that ceremony work, do it. And if you want, in the meantime, if you want to get a taster for what's coming in the future, come and join us on our conference. I think the link will be up somewhere. I'm not even sure, but I'm sure Evan's done that. Now that leads me on to the third part of this, the article we've put up this time, which is about another ring that's now come into our possession. And this particular ring is fascinating because it was found exactly at the same place where the first Atlantean ring was found, at Hill End, by a different person, slightly different location, but certainly within the same Hill End area. And more interestingly, it was found by a metal detector again. But there's a fascinating story to this one, because apparently, and I spoke to this gentleman, Carl's father, and he said 3 other people went through this first and ran the metal detector over and found nothing. And then when Carl come along, he did find it, and he felt like Carl was meant to find it and they weren't. Well, this particular ring, it has 5 symbols that we interpret on the first one to being Atlantis. Just with the first ring, which had 5, so does this one. Then it has 4 other symbols, which are of Atlas, which is just like the first ring. They also had 4 symbols for Atlas, so does this one. And what's really interesting is when we did a chemical breakdown, we found that the copper zinc base on the first Atlantean ring is about 99.53%. The copper zinc base on this new ring is 99.50%. Now some people might say, well, that's just a coincidence, but let me try this one. The nickel in the first one is 0.121%. The nickel in this one is 0.120%. And so it goes on. You'll find that all of the chemistry between those 2 rings, with one fascinating exception, is identical. All 0.003% or 0.04% difference. I mean, it's so close it's not funny. But there is one difference. Now, Atlantis ring number 1 has the 5 elements that are recognized as orichalcum, and as I've explained before, that's a base which they add and subtract from. And with number 2, as we said, they put a bit of gold in that one simply because it was only an Atlas ring, and Atlas's wisdom was written inside the inner sanctums of the Temple of Poseidon and Cleito, which is lined in all orichalcum with a gold top, and that's why they put that in there. Now this one is different again in a lot of ways actually. Number 1, when it comes to the lead, which is always the one all the way through all of the rings, that's the one that can go down to 0.02% and go up to 8.6%, and in some cases with Lemurian ones it's also taken out. Now what's fascinating is in the first one the lead content was 0.276%. The missing component in this one, where the lead would have been, is 0.272%. So we're looking at 0.04%, 0.004% difference. Now what's fascinating this time, ladies and gentlemen, is the readout we have never was not 100% like all the others bar one. And we spoke about that before because that was 41% unidentified, which we believe is an alien input. This time around we believe that they've got the nickel, they've got the iron, they took the lead out this time and put a drop of alien metal in there, which means this one will have a slightly different, not by much, a different makeup to the first one because of that one small variation. What we have found with this ring, and we've had two psychics who've looked at it, is that in the wrong hands it has killed thousands. They both, it's quite fascinating. Two different psychics, and I'm going to put these up in the next article. I'm not clouding it too much. I do mention at the finish that they were involved in this to give you an idea of the complexion of this ring. What I can tell you is that with this ring, it also has been responsible for killing a lot of people and being used as a curse. But it was made very clear to me that this ring has been stolen a couple of times and it wasn't used like that to begin with. So we have hope that this particular ring can be cleaned. I know that we've cleared the second one so I can now hold it and it won't kill me. I haven't put this one on my finger and I won't do that until after the conference, just in case it does kill me so I don't get to go to Uluru first. I like to go to the conference and see the change. Then after that, well, whatever. But I'd like to be there for that, so I'm not putting it on my ring until my finger. I'm not putting that ring on my finger until after that. But what we did find interesting was that both of the psychics said, and they never heard each other. I was in different parts at the time and at different times. They both said it kills through the blood. And I found it fascinating that they both used that. Now, I would have thought if a ring was going to kill you, it would give you a heart attack, an aneurysm, cancer, something like that. But to say it kills you to a blood disorder twice by two different people that never saw each other, and at that stage had never even met each other and didn't hear each other, to say that starts to make you wonder about whether people who make fun of people who try and do things outside the science and inside magic, well, come on, there's some evidence to prove that there's something to this. But with this ring, what I can tell you is I've called it the ugly duckling, because alas, like ring number one, which is incredibly evil, this one has been recut. But the difference is this time when they put it back together, they didn't put it back together straight. The panels, which are 4 by 2, 4 mils by 4 mils, the captions are exactly the same as Atlantis number 1, and the dividers are 2 by 4, just like Atlantis number 1. But when you look at those panels, they're not centered in the center like they were for the first one, they're off center. It is asymmetrical. All of the panels are 4 by 4, but then there's one, the one where there's been some cutting taking place, that has got a diagonal line, the only one there, and it doesn't have 2 as a divider, just 1, and it's 4 by 7 to 4 by 9 mils. It's on an angle, it's sloped, and it looks wrong. Something's happened to that ring, and we're not sure what. I am sort of hoping it's something we can deal with. We'll find out after the event. But we've got a small article. For me, it's just under 2,000 words, which is basically like a memo. I tried to keep this one a bit smaller so that maybe people might have the inclination to read it, because when they get to 6,000 words, a lot of people look at that and say, oh, I'm not doing this. Not that I blame them, I probably wouldn't either. I don't know why I do that, but that's the way it turns out. So for now, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting close. Okay, what I am going to say is we're getting very close to that ceremony. I'm inviting people to participate in any way they can. And one of the ways you can do that is if you watch the next online conference, which is on Sunday, you'll get to listen to the original voices and what they've got to say and how they feel about this and why it is that most of what the original indigenous, pagan, druid, Arapaho, hobby, you name it, all around the world. Man, it doesn't matter. What they're all on about is a different way of living with the planet. And this must come back. And it has to come back now. We're running out of time. We get our have our leaders that have meetings all the time and pass motions and say they're going to do things. And do you know what they're doing? They're talking about one problem. It's not enough. And I want to close with something that Keanu Reeves said a few months ago when talk of this change came about. And I know some people were investing in mainstream organisations, mainstream politicians, whether it was Donald Trump or Jacinda Ardern, I don't know. All sorts of people are thinking that maybe there's something there and they'll lead us to the promised land. You need to understand something. Keanu Reeves was right. He said it won't be political, it won't be economical, it won't be economic, it won't be social. It'll be spiritual. And the spiritual will lead the other components. Don't think the other components will lead the spiritual. The spiritual and magical's been lost. It must be front and center. And once it establishes itself, the politics, the social systems, and the way we live and the way we treat the earth will change accordingly. Because nature will always come first from that point on. That's part of what's taking place there. Yes, the human resonance is bouncing all over the place, and I'm pretty sure that everyone listening this and people who don't listen or watch this will say the same thing. They're feeling different. They're feeling like they've spread all over the place. Well, ladies and gentlemen, come and join our online conference and then come and join us on the 21st of December, where we'll be spread all over one place. And that one place will be the beginning and the start of a renaissance of all the ley lines, all the spiritual sites in this country and all the magic inside the planet. And the planet will heal itself. But if we don't do it this time, I've used this quote a lot from Muse, this is the last time to save ourselves. And if we don't do it this time, then the earth will save itself and we won't be part of it. So, come and join us on Sunday and listen to some more and listen to some people that know about old ways and know about the ways that should be part of our future and should have never left the room, but they're coming back one way or the other. It's all a matter of who's going to be in the room with it. It's that simple. Until next time.